Firstly, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today and coming to our More Than Your CV webinar. We're joined today by an amazing panel that you can see on the screen, who are going to share their expertise and their top tips on how you can really show who you are and land your dream job beyond your CV. So before we get into introductions and the discussion today, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping with Zoom. So right now, you should all be able to see myself and the panelists on the screen. Please make sure you've enabled your chat function at the bottom of Zoom. So this is enabled for us to answer as many questions as possible. We want to make sure that we can give you as much information as possible and advice for you to take away and pop in successfully when you're hiring for a job. I guarantee if you're thinking about it, someone else is thinking about it. So drop the question in and we're going to try and answer as many questions as possible today throughout the webinar. So before I introduce our panelists today, I'm going to give a quick introduction to myself and Tempo. So my name's Ash and I'm a city manager here at Tempo. My job is to get some of the most exciting businesses onto the platform and match them with candidates just like yourselves who are joining in today. We really believe here at Tempo that there is a face behind each CV, and we want to give you the platform and the tools in which to really showcase yourself. So just a couple of features on the platform if you're not familiar with Tempo, and the best ways to start your job hunt is we use smart technology here, which allows you to match your online profile to the most relevant company and jobs, giving you the best chance to find your perfectly suited job. You have the option to allow your personality to shine through by recording a video.
I'm very superstitious, but a lot of things going out at the same time.
Sorry, do you mind muting, please?
Fridays and Sundays, and not having a pack of playing cards in the house. How?
Okay. So as I said there, so we allow you to have an option to to shine through by recording a video for your profile. This allows you to show your skill set in your own unique way and help you stand out to employers, but also to other people that are applying to the same role. You can also leave a tailored message directly to the hiring manager for the job that you're applying to. This alongside your profile, your video is a lot more effective and much less time consuming than writing multiple cover letters. And also everything takes place on the platform, which means your whole hiring, job journey, hunt is all done in one place, which is going to save you a shed load of time. So now I'm going to introduce the stars of the show today. So we're joined by Daniel, Chloe, Maggie, and Jerry. Folks, would you please introduce yourselves, your company, and why you're taking part today? Daniel, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Dan. I'm head of people at Vinted. Vinted is Europe's largest peer-to-peer secondhand fashion platform. So it's basically a platform where you can upload garments, clothes that you want to sell. On the other hand, you can also kind of go on there and find anything that you want to buy. We are 700 people. Our HQ is in Vilnius, Lithuania, and we have offices sort of pretty much all over Europe, and a couple of remote folks as well, including myself in London.
Nice. And why is it that you're taking part today?
Yeah, always super excited to participate in webinars like this. I think as heads of people, as sort of people working in the talent space, we really see how things are done and how sort of hiring happens. And I think, I'm hoping that we can provide some helpful perspective for people.
I'm 100% sure you will today. So thank you very much for joining today. Maggie?
Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name's Maggie. I'm the people manager at WeGift. So we are a business-to-business payouts platform. So we actually work with businesses to help incentivize the people that they care about, whether that be a customer of theirs, a partnership, or employees, for example. We basically run the technology to allow them to send out corporate incentives online. I've been working there for the past year and a half. The reason I am joining this webinar today is I've worked for 4 high growth startups in London. So yeah, seen a lot of creative ways that people have showcased themselves beyond their CV. And yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys today to hopefully offer you guys some insights to your job searches as well. So thank you.
Amazing. Chloe?
Hi everyone, I'm Chloe. I'm a member of the people team at Moneybox. We are a fintech app that aims to help everyone save and invest in their future. So we've been around since 2015. The last couple of years have been really exciting for us, helping people with a wide range of saving or investment goals. I am here because we use Tempo for our recruitment and have really enjoyed using the platform. So excited to kind of share tips with the candidates that we would be engaging with and get some exposure as well.
Amazing, thank you. Jerry?
Yep, cool. Hi everyone, I'm Jerry. I'm the head of people here at Flux. Flux are a company that's looking to digitize the world of receipts. We think it's pretty insane that with so much technology and innovation around that paper receipts are even still a thing. So that's kind of what we're about. We are a company of 33 people at the moment, so quite small, and we're just based in London, but hopefully we'll be looking at some other markets soon. So that'll be exciting news. Why I'm here, so I have only been, so I was a management consultant previously, and I've only kind of been in the talent game for the last 2 years or so. So I'm, if anything, more used to being on the other side of the like career search. So there's definitely been some eye-opening moments for me in terms of coming over to this side. So yeah, happy to answer any questions anyone's got about that.
Amazing, thanks a lot for your introductions. Really looking forward to getting into the discussion in a second. I just thought it would be great to kind of set the scene before we get into our conversation today. So I think it's really important to know that everyone knows we're in unprecedented times, and at the moment landing your dream job is a lot more difficult than it used to be. Getting a job in normal times is a difficult chore, but even more so now with unemployment rising, but also applications per job rising by over 50%, meaning that you have to be much more creative when applying for jobs to really give you that competitive edge. So we really want to show the person behind the CV, make it authentic, and really how you can stand out from the crowd and show who you really are. However, there is a lot of hope at the beginning of this year. So the number of firms who are looking to make redundancies in the first half of this year has shrunk by 10%, but also over 50% of employers in the UK are looking to hire over the next 3 months. So that's pretty an exciting thing to even be considering where we were last year. So today, throughout the webinar, we're going to give you some first-hand insight from our panel of experts on how you can succeed against hundreds of other applicants and really show who you are. So over the next hour, get your pads, get your pen, and learn how to really showcase your unique skill set when applying to jobs, the qualities that companies look for that are going to give you that extra edge in your application, the different tools you can use to make your application stand out, but also real life examples of job seekers who have gone the extra mile and set themselves up for success. So to kick things off today, it'll be great to get an idea of what your thoughts are around this idea that candidates are much more than their CV. Jerry, let's kick off with you.
Sorry, just finding the button. So candidates are definitely more than their CV. I think Too often when we're looking for jobs, we create CVs to just be a list of everything that we've ever done in our entire lives. And like, life is not a homogeneous experience. Life is like a collection of multiple different things that we've collected over the time. So being able to really understand what shines out through your CV is really important. The flip side to that actually is that a job is more than a job description. And any job description that's overly heavy on we need these 20 that you need to be able to do these 20 things is probably just them not being specific enough about the job they've got as well. And I think the real sweet spot that I found, like, you know, being someone that like applied for jobs and also like is now looking at hiring as well, is to find where those two things intersect. If you can really look into the job description, find the specificity of like, okay, it might be a sales development role, it might be a recruiting role, but like what is the specific requirement of this company for this sales development role versus any other company versus any other role. If you can get to that nugget, that's when you can start really tailoring your CV and saying, actually, I've done more research and I understand that you want this thing and I have that thing. And it's like, it's going that one level deeper of specificity, and rather than just, I'll send my CV to 100 places and hopefully one of them will bite, like, being able to like take that extra bit of time to like find the specificity is I think something that's really powerful.
Amazing. Daniel?
Yeah, no, I totally hear everything Jerry says and agree with that. I would add that really sort of one of the key things we look for in every candidate is passion, it's excitement, it's motivation, right? So you can have all the skills in the world, and you can be literally the perfectly qualified candidate for the role. If you're not excited about the role, if you don't sense that you're up for this challenge and you want to do this, it's probably not going to work out. And so what I'm trying to say is your passion, your excitement, your motivation is half the win. So if you can find a way to really showcase that, and whether that's through, you know, writing a really thoughtful cover letter, or you know, reaching out to the potential hiring manager or potential colleague on LinkedIn and asking them for advice, I think it's really important to do that. And again, like once you've shown that you really put a lot of energy into this, you care about this job, you're excited about it, you're also creating almost like a human connection with the person reviewing that and making them think, oh, well, you know, we should really think about this person. They might not meet all the requirements, but wow, we rarely see this kind of dedication, this kind of excitement. So I would really highlight that, you know, don't sort of give up if you feel like your CV doesn't really precisely reflect the job description, because it's, you know, if you're excited and motivated, that's half the win.
Amazing. I think it was really good how you spoke about reaching out to people directly on LinkedIn, where I think a lot of people just apply to the job and not think about the other bit. So if you see who's posted the job on LinkedIn, drop them a message, tailor it. Like Daniel said, it will really make you shine against other people who are in the long list when they've applied to the job on other places. Maggie?
Yeah, absolutely. I echo everything that's been said. I mean, for me, the way I think about my CV is not just a list of experience, but like my story. And so therefore, you know, you don't need to list all the experience you've ever done, because, you know, that future employer needs to see everything you've ever done. You actually want to be listing your story, and that links back to your motivation and what you're passionate about, and actually specifying what type of role you want next. So don't focus on just listing everything. If anything, a 1-page CV is better than a 3-page CV, in my opinion. So figure out what your story is and align that to the job that you want to get, and make sure it showcases, you know, your passion and your motivation to join there. And another thing about LinkedIn, I do agree, finding the right person to reach out to and sending them a connection or a message is really important. I also think it's worth reaching out to someone who has the same job at that company that you might be applying for and asking them for, like, I don't know, asking to share their story or how they got there or any tips that they could give you. That would probably go a long way as well.
Nice. Just as you mentioned that LinkedIn piece again there, Maggie, someone's just, Victoria's just asked a question and said she never knows what to say when reaching out to a hiring manager on LinkedIn. What's the best thing for Victoria and other people to join, to reach out, to say to you?
I mean, it just needs to be really simple. Hey, I just applied to, X job. I'm really excited about it. Would love to chat if you're interested. Normally, you only get about 100 characters anyway if you're not connected. So it's just about, going that extra mile to show that you're really interested and that you're actually taking the time to apply. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of people who don't even fill out the application properly and they'll just put NA in a box. And honestly, it doesn't matter how experienced you are. If you have not taken the time to fill out that application, then unfortunately we won't progress with you, because again, it's linking back to that passion and that motivation to join. So yeah, going that extra mile on LinkedIn and adding that connection and reaching out is showing that you're dedicated and that you're genuinely interested. So it doesn't have to be, there is no magic message. It's just the effort there.
Lovely, lovely. And Chloe?
Actually, can I just follow up on that question? I think I completely agree. Like, having someone reach out to you because they're genuinely interested is really great. Like, to my earlier point about specificity, if there's a specific question you have about the job description, ask that, because that is super specific, it's super relevant, and again, it's kind of proving that you've done your homework and you're asking for a reason.
Amazing, amazing. Great point there. And Chloe?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said. I think it's definitely about thinking about your application as a whole, as well as your CV. So as we touched on, making sure you're filling out those cover letter questions if they're there, or those additional questions as well. I know we've all had frustrations of the NA being in the boxes. And even if you have the most perfect CV, if you've put NA, I think lots of the time will kind of move past, which is such a shame. Another thing I want to touch on is kind of attention to detail as well. So please read through your answers and your CV. If you're getting kind of rejected because you haven't been consistent or there's a spelling mistake or whatever, you'd be kicking yourself if you found out. I think on the LinkedIn thing, I agree, definitely apply to the job first if you kind of have no questions about it, and then reach out saying, hi, I've applied, here's another copy of my CV. And I don't know about kind of characters, but maybe if you pick out a key kind of 3 points of why you were interested in the job or the skills you could bring, that means that you've got the recruiter or hiring manager's attention quickly, which is what's key if people are kind of busy and rushing around.
Amazing, amazing. I think leading on from this question, and this next one ties in pretty well. I know we've spoken about LinkedIn a little bit already, and there's questions coming in around standing out in general. But what are the ways that candidates can stand out when they apply? Chloe, let's continue with you.
So I think for us, it's all about kind of what Daniel touched on about passion, determination type things. So the idea that they've gone above and beyond to research the company first and foremost and show that passion or demonstrate it in their application. So whether that's you've done external reading on the company, if you can, you've engaged in their product or service. I know it's not always key, like you can't download every single app or you can't engage in every product, but showing you've gone that extra mile is definitely key for us. So yeah, definitely something that I would consider.
Amazing. Daniel?
Yeah, I have 5 things I'd highlight. And I know this isn't, I know the title here is more than your CV, but 3 of those 5 are about your CV, because, you know, that's kind of the world we live in, and that's still very much the tool that we rely on for hiring. So number 1 is make sure your CV looks nice, it's structured, it's clear. When you look at it, you can just make out what the different sections are. It's compact. It's not too long. It's, you know, recruiters go through so many CVs. It's difficult to kind of get your eyes used to a structure that isn't immediately obvious. So you know, if you're not sure how to do that, like maybe we can follow up after this session. I can share some examples, but really making it super structured, super easy to follow for whoever is going to be reviewing it is really important to you. Whatever company you worked for in the past, just explain what that company does. If you do that, then you're making it a lot easier for the reviewer of the CV, the recruiter, to understand your impact, your role at that company. If you don't understand what the company does, if I don't understand what the company does, I can't really interpret the role, the title that you had there. So that's 2, 3. Put something personal there, like write down some interesting hobbies, something quirky about you. And I think this goes beyond, like, you know, I like running, I like cooking. I love those 2 things, but I probably wouldn't put them on my CV because it's just not very exciting, not very quirky. So one of my favorites I've seen is someone wrote airplane mode as one of their hobbies. And you're just like, what does that even mean? You know, and then you start thinking like, oh, they must be talking about like, you know, R&R and like reading, but it certainly sparks conversation once you get to that stage. So make it quirky, make it interesting, make it sort of reflective of your personality. Great cover letter. You know, no more than 3 paragraphs, really punchy, show your passion, why you're interested in this specific role at this specific company, and update your LinkedIn. Again, a lot of candidates just neglect to do that, so they'll spend a lot of time on their CV and not update their LinkedIn. Recruiters get tired of trying to decipher different structured CVs. So sometimes what people do is they literally look up your name on LinkedIn. They click on your CV, find your name, then go on LinkedIn and look up your LinkedIn profile, because it's easier because they're used to that structure to understand your experience. Update your LinkedIn. Don't just rely on your CV, because recruiters are going to be going to LinkedIn to look at that. So yeah, those are the 5.
Nice. I think the point about the company piece is really interesting, because you can literally just put fintech company or whatever, and then they can at least gain some understanding where your experience lies. So you're right, if you put that down in your CV, no one's going to know. There's so many businesses now, you can't really guess which each one is. Amazing. Jerry?
Yeah, I think Daniel's hogged all the points because he had them all listed out properly. Gosh, what else can I add to it? I think on the point of like structure, like what you did at what kind of company is so important. Just to reiterate that, like reverse chronological order, what I did, this is my impact. Like when Daniel, well, I mean, Daniel, if I'm wrong, like when I'm thinking of structure, that's what I think of as structure. If you are trying to move into a different industry and sort of structured it as a sort of like skills-based CV, absolutely fine. But like you need to make sure that the role that you're applying for is looking for someone, is open to kind of like looking at the skills and that kind of stuff. Yeah, like for me, like structure really means reverse chronological, like work experience and that kind of stuff. If you have gaps in your employment, don't be afraid to just be very open and honest about why those gaps exist. If you've been traveling, or if you've been on maternity, or if you've been like because some other thing, like being able to share that is actually a point of strength, because it is not expected by anyone that in your job everything's going to be hunky-dory all the time. Like things happen. This like employment isn't just about doing the job, it's about like life as well. So yeah, if you can sort of talk about your gaps like really open and honestly, it's like actually a strength and a reflection on how you can deal very like in a very adult way, like how to deal with like problems. That because within a company as well, like for myself, I look at recruitment, but I also look at HR, and it's kind of like, oh, it's like you also kind of want people who are really open and receptive sort of like feedback and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, being able to address a gap is good.
No, I think that's really refreshing to hear, because I think people probably feel like they're expected to have a job and no gaps. But if anything, you're right, it makes you more authentic, makes it more human, but also it allows you to elaborate and speak about yourself more and potentially what you learned during that time when you weren't in work. So that was really, really great. Thanks for sharing that, Jerry. And Maggie?
Yeah, definitely to speak on the gaps in the CV. I mean, I actually was made redundant from my first job in London, and I really shied away from explaining that in the future interviews that I had. And I sort of just, told people that I decided to leave. And the most recent job that I got at WeGift, it was actually the first interview where I was like, do you know what, it was a couple of years ago now. I want to tell the truth, and ended up having this conversation with my now CEO about it. And I actually truly believe the reason he hired me was because I went through that experience, because he was like, you were in a high growth startup that made some mistakes and had to let people go. I want to make sure that doesn't happen at our startup. And therefore, he brought me on because I had that experience of going through that redundancy. So yeah, definitely don't shy away from that. And how you can showcase that on your CV as well is around, we look for self-awareness. So, do they show a passion about something? Maybe they've done community service. Have they actually listed? I saw a CV recently, which was really great. It had this awesome visual on their strengths and development areas. So specifically what they were good at, but then also the areas in their next job that they wanted to grow and develop with. And I thought that was really great, because it is essentially, showcasing that self-awareness and that, wanting to get better. That there are, great ways that you can actually put that on your CV in a structured way as well. Another tip at the CV level is to always upload in PDF. I know that seems really basic, but if you upload in other documents like Word, sometimes when it pulls into the ATS, the applicant tracking system, it's weirdly formatted and it goes back to not being able to see it properly. So my number one tip would be to upload in PDF as well. So worth noting that.
Nice. I think that part that you said there about the self-awareness and saying the steps that you want to learn your next job role is really great, because I think it's a known thing that if you're really coachable and you're willing to learn, that's one of the main things that employers look for. So the fact that you can put that in your CV.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually to go the step further in the interview process as well, you'll often get questions where they're trying to test for your ability to receive feedback, and do you have the self-awareness to work on your development points as well. So they might ask you a question, tell me about a time that you made a mistake at work, and quite often people would draw from other people's mistakes and be like, oh well, this happened and I fixed it and it was fine, rather than actually thinking about a genuine time where they learned something and, in future it made them, act differently. So yeah, worth noting that as well.
Amazing. One tip that one of my friends does is actually when he applies for jobs, he puts recent books that he's read on the bottom of his CV as well. So it's a great way, because potentially the person who's applying for the job has read it as well, especially if it's a business related book, or even if you don't have experience within that industry but you've wanted to learn about it. It's definitely worth putting it on there. It's definitely worth it. So I think the next question is a key one, because a lot of people potentially may not know what are the key areas that in terms of standing out, but are there any qualities, and we've spoken about already, but any qualities in particular that you look for? I know we've spoken about passion, but anything else on the CV that they can really make themselves stand out in that front? Maggie, should we continue with you?
Yeah, sorry, can you just repeat the question just so I know, so it's clear? Yeah, sure. I got distracted by the chat bot on the side.
Oh, no worries. So, are there any qualities in particular that you look for in a candidate when?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, what we actually do is we have our values drive our interview process. So it's really worth going online and looking at the company's values before you apply, also to see if it aligns with your personal views. But also often companies will create questions that draw from their values to see if you align with their mission and what they're trying to do. So yeah, in terms of qualities, like for example, one of the big things that we look for in candidates is adapt and overcome. So we are a startup environment, really dynamic, fast moving. We want to make sure that people can actually thrive in an unstructured environment. And part of that is, adapting and overcoming to a quick moving environment. So that's often what we will test for. So, do they act autonomously? Are they willing to challenge the status quo? Are they okay with ambiguity? That sort of thing. So that's a huge quality that we look for as well. Another one is around building trust. So that's really goes back to the self-awareness and your ability to collaborate with others. So, often we'll ask questions around, tell me about a time you've had to give direct feedback. How did it go? How do you build trust with a colleague, and really trying to figure out how people interact both externally with stakeholders, but also with teammates as well. So yeah, those are the two kind of key ones.
Nice. Jerry?
I feel, I'm not me, okay. I think what Maggie said about values is really important, and I know that I think I have maybe like a slightly different feeling towards values. I feel like a lot of companies feel like, oh, we need to have values, so we'll put some words out there, but they're so open to interpretation that it can be quite confusing to do so as well. And I think I would really come back to that company specificity. If you've kind of done the legwork of research and you've spoken to someone at LinkedIn and you've asked about their culture and you've kind of got through the barrier of what we'd like to be perceived as and really got down to what they actually want, it is then possible to sort of think about qualities that they actually want. And it's two-sided as well. A company that is small and fast-growing will have a need for people who can have a bigger picture thinking, will have a need for someone that can sort of deal with relative chaos, but that can deal with the fact that you're not going to get told what to do every day. Those are more make and break than your ability to be, passionate about our mission, that kind of stuff, in a more practical sense. I guess an example for Flux is that we are a Series A company. We're looking to raise Series B in the near future. We are if you looked at our job descriptions, we very often say that this is our first hire, this is our second hire. That is very different from an Uber type company that's hiring 100 customer services people. The qualities that will stand out for me it is very different from the qualities that stand out for Uber, and that's why again, doing that additional bit of research and understanding, again, it's been said before, understanding your personal story of why you are a good fit for this role, and you can't answer that question unless you know what the specific role is. So again, I know I've been going on about it, but specificity.
I always recommend also searching the company on YouTube as well, because sometimes if a company's description may seem a bit confusing, they probably got a video on YouTube, so it'll usually a lot more digestible and clearer to understand what they do. So hopefully you can relate to it that way as well. Chloe?
Yes, my neighbours are having their house painted outside, so I'm sorry if there's any commotion. Their dog is barking, so sorry in advance. But I think I kind of echo everything that Jerry and Maggie have said. Going that one step further, doing that additional reading, something that definitely puts a smile on my face is people that have read our blog. And I know that's so simple. It's mostly just stories about the Moneybox team, but it shows that you have got yourself excited, you've read about the different things going on, whether that's a new product that we've launched, and being able to kind of get those buzzwords in your cover letter or on the phone definitely will make you stand out, which is great. I think, again, we're very similar at Moneybox with our values. So we have our a lot values, and 2 of those are learning and team. So learning is definitely a massive one for us. We use a platform called Udemy, which is a learning and development platform. And I know they have a lot of free courses that people can also do as well, whether that's softer skills or harder skills. So I definitely would check that out. And I agree with you, Ash, YouTube is a lifesaver. It's completely free. It breaks things down. And when you find a kind of YouTuber that you understand, they break things down, subscribe and definitely go through all of their material, because it helps if you're applying for a job you've never done before, if you're looking to further your skills as well, and definitely one I use day to day.
Nice. Chloe, just quickly, a question's just come in there. So I know you mentioned cover letter, and I thought it'd be good to get your experience on it, your thoughts on it. Question come and said, hearing mixed thing about cover letters, and apparently they're not even read. I think it'll be good to get your thoughts are on it, but also I know Daniel mentioned 3 paragraphs. How would you break that down and the structure for everyone listening in today?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Keep it, 3 paragraphs is spot on. I think speaking about kind of why your experience, why the company, why the role type thing could be a good structure. For us, we found that cover letters that could be quite broad weren't necessarily key for us. So we now ask specific questions, so it guides the candidate a little bit more. So if you've ever come across those, I think maybe jotting them down for future applications could be really useful as well, because I think they're probably much of a muchness across lots. So at least then you've got reference to go back to if you're applying for lots of jobs, that you're not kind of starting from scratch every single time. But as we've all touched on, make sure you're tailoring it to that job. I don't want to see an application that's got Monzo on rather than Moneybox, because I have, which is fine. But yeah, definitely small things like that can cause you to not look in the best light.
Sure. So just to confirm, Chloe's from
Moneybox. Oh, Ash.
And Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everyone. I think it really depends on what kind of company you're applying to. I would say, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that given Tempo's ecosystem, a lot of you are interested in working for startups, high growth companies. So I think, like, again, this showing that you're passionate and specifically mission driven. So if the company has some kind of mission or purpose that is sort of bigger than its commercial objective, then I think it's really worth showing how you align with that. So if it's say a green energy company, sort of tell the story of how you're living or how you're sort of trying to live in a more sustainable way. I think that can go a long way. What else do high growth companies need? I think, people to be results oriented. So one good way to showcase that is the way you sort of structure your CV. So I keep going back to the CV, but really, I think what I often see is sort of a to-do list, task list of what your role involved. It's not necessarily super helpful for the recruiter, because what they really want to know is, what did this person achieve? What mark did they leave in their last job? So really kind of trying to frame your experience as your impact and as results rather than sort of tasks is probably a good idea. I think this goes without saying, but just be humble throughout the process as well. I think, again, even the most qualified, most passionate candidate can be behaviorally red flagged if you're coming across as having a massive ego. So yeah, I would say just just those things. And then, of course, on top of that, whatever the values of the company are, whatever the type, the specific role within the specific company you're applying for, etc.
Perfect. Thanks very much for sharing that. I think one thing I know that I would love to gain some understanding on those who are joining in today is also, if a candidate doesn't really have that much work experience, what can they do to make up for it? Maggie, can we kick off with you this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I've got my gaming headset on so that there's no background noise. Yes, this is a really important thing. I think, you know, what we try to look for at WeGift is raw talent versus experience. So again, that's going back to your story, right? What are you passionate about? What are you motivated by? And there's a lot of different ways that you can showcase this, and ways that we kind of look at this as well as, you know, academically, are you, do you have a first? Do you, I don't know, maybe do extracurricular activities that you're really passionate about, and you went from grade 1 to grade 6 piano, I think it goes up. You know, we look for people who are dedicated to mastering their craft. And if you can showcase that, not just professionally, but in other parts of your life, that's really, really important. I think also what is really great is for people to sort of lean in to other experiences. So rather than, you know, doing a course just to get a tick boxing exercise, or having a 2-week internship just to put it on your CV, actually figure out, you know, what is it that you're passionate about? What experiences can I go out and get that will actually aid me in my professional journey? And one example of this is, one of my best friends was made redundant during COVID last year, and she was looking at reskilling into a different industry anyway. She was looking at food tech companies, and she was previously in the property technology space. And so what she actually did during her time off during furlough was she actually signed up to an NHS free meal service, where she was actually helping to organize and drop off meals at vulnerable people's houses. And she, through this charity work that she was doing, she met this person who ended up going to be the head of business development for one of the biggest now food technology startups that actually deliver, they're like Deliveroo, but for your groceries now. And she now has a job there. And she essentially got that connection because she did some volunteering work during her furlough. And because she leaned into that experience, she actually met someone who helped her in you know, get a job in the space that she wanted to. So rather than treating these extracurricular activities as tick boxing exercise, figure out, you know, what do I want to do? What stuff can I go out and start today that could actually help me in my professional career later on? So yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that real life example. We're going to come on to a few more of those later on in the discussion. Jerry?
Yeah. So I think there's two sides to this answer about experience, and one of them is for graduates, and one of them is for sort of like career changes, sort of like midlife career changes. I think for midlife career changes, again, specificity, but like understanding what transferable skills can you move from one to the other. Going from a purely business-facing sales to a senior engineer is going to be a shift that is probably not going to happen because of the lead time and sort of gaining those skills. However, if you've kind of been doing physical sales and you're kind of moving into like digital sales, upskilling yourself with a most recent course. But what you're really trying to do is sort of understand what are the differences between physical sales and digital sales. What's the differences about the fundamental buyer that you're selling to between digital and I think there will definitely be differences, but then there'll definitely be similarities. But to a point made earlier, that self-awareness and understanding of the macro thing that's happening, not just be like, I want this job because I've sold X before. That's not, yeah, but you've sold in a different environment. If you can demonstrate that you understand at the point of application how what I have done is relevant and how what I have done is different, it means that you are already 10 steps ahead on that journey of finding out what the difference is. And if the company has the support system to help you make that journey, then there's no reason why they wouldn't hire you. The second side to this is graduates. I think, again, specificity, but for graduates, you really need to look for companies where they have that support system. Again, if I use Flux as an example, we have specifically not opened any graduate roles because we know that we won't have the time and capacity to support you in your personal development. That's not because we think you're not good enough. It's, if anything, it's we think that we are not at a scale that where we can do you justice. Like we've all been there. We've all been the graduate who's like got no experience on the CV, but there are companies and there are jobs out there which do need roles where they're looking more for like, you know, their can-do attitude and their keenness and their ability to sort of like pick up on the job. And I think Maggie, you mentioned that you guys are looking for you guys are looking for sort of like those behavioral traits, and like that would be a fantastic like place to join, because they have put a like graduate scheme, or like they've set out jobs where like you don't need the experience. Those are the places that are going to be able to support you. And if you kind of like decide later on in life that you want to sort of split, you know, it's the quality of their training, it's the quality of the experience that you're getting that's going to springboard you to the next role. And yeah, like not every job is going to sort of allow for that. And again, if you can find that out at the point of the job description or your initial LinkedIn reach out, then it's kind of like time saved for everyone involved.
Jerry, Emily just wrote on the chat saying, is there an effective way to highlight these skills on your CV or cover letter?
So I probably don't have that much experience in doing this because we don't hire for graduates. I've not been in talent for that long, but I guess if I was in that kind of like situation, you know, like the extracurriculars then really come to fore, because you don't have to be in a job to have experience of doing things. Like I use this example, so I do like project management training at Flux, and like an example is like organizing a holiday with your friends is a project and demonstrates project management experience. If you said, if you've just graduated and you said, oh, I organized a holiday for 10 people and I like put out a plan or something, like, you know, like it's a bit ridiculous as an example, but you know, when you start, like, work is just doing stuff. Just because you haven't done work experience doesn't mean you've not done stuff. And there are skills that you can sort of like pick out and sort of like showcase as well. Being a treasurer of a university society, starting a startup, you know, when you were 16 because you had a like great idea. All of these are experiences that have the results. So again, on the CV, reverse chronology. If you don't have the work experience, just say like extracurricular or non-paid like non-paid work experience, or whatever you want to call it. But again, reverse chronological order. What did you do? Instead of like where you worked, like what did you actually do, and then like what the skill sets of each are. Like it is that's what we're looking for. Someone that has proven that they have done things before, and like it's a big matching game of like what you've done versus what we need doing. So yeah, so that was a bit of a ramble, but I hope that helps.
It was an effective ramble. It was good. It was good. Daniel?
Yeah, no, I'm completely with Jerry on all of this. I think if you're applying for an entry-level role, they're not going to be looking for experience. I think I always see these memes on LinkedIn saying like, entry-level role but requiring 5 years of experience. I just don't know if that happens that much in reality. I think if it's truly an entry-level role, whoever's looking at your CV is not going to be expecting you to have done work, like as in like actual jobs in the past. So then it's really about your passion and the behaviors that they're looking for in people that they think succeed at that company. So again, like show your excitement. 1, 2, what are the behaviors you think will be successful at this company? It's probably going to be things like setting goals and achieving them. Like, did you do karate as a kid and achieve a black belt? Great. Put that on there. Did you, I don't know, nerd out over something and achieve some kind of qualification, and put that on there. Show that you think in a structured way, structure your CV in a way that is really easy for people to understand, and read, and concise, and which shows that you sort of get to the point. So sort of try and demonstrate these behaviors in these subtle ways through the interactions that you have with the company, whether that's your CV or LinkedIn, the call that you have with them, etc. So that's kind of it.
Amazing. And Chloe?
Yeah, the final thing I'd kind of add to this is the idea of, if you're a grad or early on in your career, being proud of the different things that you've done. So if you've worked in retail or hospitality, thinking, okay, what's that taught me? Time management, ability to deal with tricky situations, deal with different personalities, and really go into that. Don't just gloss over it as a job you had alongside your studies, because I think it really shows someone that is studying and also working, and balancing both. And those are things that, especially in our kind of first jobs, we like to hear, and like people to speak passionately and positively about those experiences and what they can take away.
Amazing. Thanks very much for sharing that. So we've got 10 minutes left, so there's a few things I just want to make sure we get answered today. So I think a good one that's come in a few times actually is, obviously during the last year, people have had time to reflect, whether they've been in work or outside of work, about their careers and where they want to kind of go next. And I know that some people are potentially thinking about a career change. I know we've spoken about transferable skills, but is there anything else that a candidate can do to illustrate to you as a hiring manager with no experience specifically within that field, and how they can be successful? Chloe, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think a small thing that could be really beneficial is doing a little bit more digging into the tools and platforms that the company use, or that are used more generally. So an example I have is quite simple, but it was really effective. That we were looking for a support team exec to join the kind of customer service arm, and I was speaking to a candidate on the phone, and he had gone out and researched and found out that we use Intercom as our customer relationship management software. And it's not something you need to have, but he'd gone out and researched how Intercom works, what he could learn about Intercom, and that really made him stand out to me, that he'd gone that extra mile, really read through, thought about Moneybox, specifically this role, and then had upskilled himself. So doing that, whether it's kind of a project management tool, Monday.com or whatever, they can be really simple, but really make you stand out.
Nice. I've never heard of someone doing that before, so that's
yeah, neither had I. And I speak to so many of our support team exec kind of candidates, so it really kind of stood out to me. And he started today, so he got the job, which was exciting.
There we go. See, it does. Daniel?
Yes. Sorry, just remind me of the question.
Yeah, of course. Not long to go now. So in terms of people transitioning into a different...
That's right. Yes, sorry. So I've done this once. I used to be a lawyer. It's kind of the first thing I did, and then I decided that was the worst, and I ended up getting into tech. And I would say, like, what really helped me was community building. Just like try and start like rebranding yourself as someone in that community, start meeting people in that community. Maybe there's a particular job you want with a particular company, like, network with people who do that job, maybe in similar companies, understand what this is all about. How is what you've done relevant for this thing? I think Yeah, so it's community building, it's networking. I know people freak out when they hear networking. I think genuinely all it takes is send a message on LinkedIn to someone and say, hey, I really want to get into what you do. Can we have a quick coffee or a Zoom to talk about what it's like? And that's how it begins. And a lot of people really want to help. You know, people are actually up for helping. So it's just about going out there, making yourself heard, and sort of starting to join that community until they see you as a member of that community, at which point, you know, hopefully you're going to be able to make that transition.
Yeah, definitely the LinkedIn piece is right, and hopefully soon, when everything opens up, face-to-face meetups are gonna start again as well. So it's a great opportunity to go there and put yourself out there to meet with people. Jerry?
Yeah, actually picking on what Daniel said, like I think I'm pulling this out of my like, out of thin air, but like I think what was it? Most of Google's hire, like 98% of Google's hire, come from referrals. So if you are looking to transition into another job, first of all, accept that it is harder. Like that is a fact. It is going to be harder. You can make it less hard by having a referral. Because someone that knows you, that works in the industry or works in that a kind of company, might be able to give a personal attestation that like of the transferable skills that you have. So that I think is actually, I never thought of it before, but Daniel, you're completely right. That is like a really powerful way to sort of like help transition. Like I said, I was a consultant before, and I've moved into sort of HR and talent at Flux. That happened because I knew the DevOps engineer here, and I was looking to get into a startup, and I was like, hey, I'm looking at startups. I'm generally good at doing things and projects. Like, what do you think? And lo and behold, like we kind of went through the interview process. I kind of explained my specific story as to why I'm passionate about Flux and receipts, and why I think that I have the skills to do this. And if the company takes a chance with it, then they take a chance with it, and that's really great. In terms of like CV, where you're not having a referral, I kind of realized that I'd missed one of Emily's sort of follow-up questions on the answer before. But like the reason why some people don't look at a cover letter is because they're either looking for something really specific and on the CV, in which case, if you're looking for an engineer and you've got a sales CV, there's very little you can actually say in a CV that's going to convince me, oh, they have the skills to be an engineer. However, like if it's something a bit closer, like, I don't know, SDR to sales, having like a 2-liner, 3-liner profile bit at the beginning of your CV is probably going to be slightly more effective, and then following with the longer cover letter might be more impressive, because what you're trying to do is tell us, I know that I don't have the experience, but I've already thought about it, and I have a well-structured argument later. So please do look at that. Don't just like look at my CV, realize it's not quite everything, and then ignore it. I think like that little bit of signposting might be like super helpful, because like what was it? The statistic is that recruiters take 10 seconds to look at CVs. Like if you can sort of like within the first second tell us, I know what you're thinking, but I've already thought about it, then it's like a conversation that you are guiding our thinking in that regard. So I think that might be quite helpful.
Amazing. Maggie, do you want to give your thoughts, but also, because we're running out of time, give your number one tip for those who are looking for a job, taking away from today?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I think I've already covered it is like leaning into different experiences outside of your day job. If you're looking to get into something different, what can I do to meet the right people, to showcase my skills, not just through my CV? Number one tip, I would say, be deliberate with who you apply to and do your research. It's going to go a long way if you can really showcase your passion and your motivation for that company versus sending out your CV to 100 different people.
Amazing, thank you. Daniel, your number one tip?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Just focus on the 4 applications you want to nail. Make sure that you understand what the role is about, per Jerry's point, understand what the company does, how what you have done in the past, whether that's work or anything else, aligns with that, and just really nail those 4 applications, and don't worry about the other 56, because honestly, this is how you're going to get noticed.
Amazing. And Chloe?
Yeah, agree with everything that's been said. I think also making sure that you're putting a kind of, this is what I've learned from this situation on everything that you do and everything that you kind of interview or apply for as well.
Amazing. And Jerry?
Yeah, everything everyone else has said, but I think one thing that I've actually learned from this is that like the point of understanding yourself and what you bring, that doesn't just happen during a performance review cycle or anything like that. It can happen wherever you are, whether it's like you're at university, and it's something I'd never thought about before, but if you add like what I know to be my personal development areas, that would impress me so much. Like if I saw that on a CV. So yeah, that's something I would think about.
Amazing. Well, folks, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today. I know that everyone who's joining in and who has been listening in today is going to have a lot to take away. I think some things that really stood out for me today is that be really passionate and show your motivation across your CV and your cover letter. I think the fact of checking out the company's values and doing the research on the website and relating your cover letter to that as well is really great. But also, if you have had gaps in your CV, a lot of other people have as well. So just be honest and be authentic through that. And as our expert said today, they're human on the other side as well. So relatable and full of empathy for the situation. Just a couple of things which I would recommend doing is following or connecting with the panelists today on LinkedIn, dropping them a short tailored message. Doesn't have to be anything major, but to catch their attention. Follow Tempo, and also set up a profile on Tempo. We've got loads of jobs on the platform. So yeah, happy matching and best of luck in your hiring journey. I know this is all going to be shared after for everyone as well. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Take care.
Bye.